Bing anymore, because you hear that Bing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the live broadcast going on. And when I do that at the end and I shut the machine off, just before I shut that off, I get it on the recording.
Oh.
Right. So now I got to kind of like do them both together.
Okay.
Joys of producing.
Yes, the joys of producing.
Yep. All right. Are we ready?
I am ready.
Okay. So we have no cats, no Beth cooking in the background.
Nope. It's just me and my little fan over here.
And I can't hear it, so you're fine.
There you go.
Okay. And so then here we go in 3, 2, 1.
Hello? Are you ready? Yes. Then we'll begin.
She's back, but the others aren't. But she has lots to tell us, and if you're watching, show us. So get ready. Here we go with Monday Morning Catholic, episode number 84.
6:30 Monday morning. I'm here hiding in my bed. A song plays on my alarm clock as I cover up my head. Somewhere in the distance, I remember yesterday singing.
Yeah, I remember yesterday. It's about as hot as it is today here in the Northeast. We're in a good old heat wave. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another edition of the Monday Morning Catholic Podcast. If this is your first time with us, I am your host and moderator, Joanne Mercier. And schedules, especially in the summer being as they are, there's only 2 of us. But it's okay because she hasn't been here in about 3 weeks. So I'm loving it. Back with us after a triumphant vacation is Linda Reed from St. Thomas in Providence, Rhode Island. Good morning, Linda. How you doing?
Good morning. I am just glad to be home.
I bet you are.
17 days out of a suitcase is a long time.
Oh, that's even worse than a convention.
Yeah, it is. And the only saving grace is that all our flights were on time and smooth, and we saw all of our respective siblings and siblings-in-law.
Well, that's good.
Yes.
There's been so many. I've been watching friends on Facebook take vacations and go on planes, and their biggest complaint this summer has been, the flight that gets canceled.
Yeah.
And I've had a couple of friends have the flights that get canceled, especially a friend of mine who went down to Haiti.
Oh, geez.
And ended up staying overnight in Miami.
No, tough.
And then on the way back, had to stay more hours in Miami. Think about Miami when coming from that part of the world. So
yeah. No, well, we were very lucky. If they were late, they weren't more than 10 minutes.
Oh, that's not bad.
No, and we made all our connections without having to sprint from one gate to the next.
Good. Yes, apparently one of your little sprinting episodes, and if you're watching, people,
ta-da!
Take a look at what she's wearing.
I feel like Darth Vader here.
She has a hard black, one of those.
A hard black plastic splint.
Yeah, removable splints.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's just because I am naturally graceless.
Naturally graceless?
Tend to be real klutz a lot of the time.
Okay.
And I was in the airport with a big old suitcase, and I didn't know there was a curb there. I thought it was a ramp.
Whoops!
So I fell and caught myself with this hand. It is mercifully not broken.
Well, thank you, Jesus, for that.
But the bone is bruised, and I have to wear this for a week. And thank God for Joanne.
Oh, geez.
Who played the keyboard for me today because
Yes.
there was no way I was getting anywhere past ching, 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 ching. That's all I could do. The arm just moved from the elbow. That's it.
Well, see, here's the thing, and this is what happens with musicians. Musicians end up trying to be so stoic,
Yes.
sick, okay, or when they've had some kind of malady occur. And so I'm on Facebook Saturday afternoon doing my, let's put the show together and get it out to everybody so we know what we're saying this week. And I look on Linda's Facebook page, and I see this black claw that sort of reminds me of
your lack of faith in spirit.
Darth Vader. So I was like, what the heck? And now it's 2:45 on a Saturday afternoon. So I pick up the phone and I'm like, Linda, do you need some help today? She's like, well,
you ask.
I can take it off to do it. No, you can't. No, you can't. So I threw a face on, threw some clothes on, grabbed my book, hadn't practiced in a week, and got over there.
Hey, it was great. Everybody,
well, it went. It was better than Gimpy trying to play the guitar.
Yeah, no good.
Although
I put a pick here between these two fingers, and that's about as far as I got. Yeah, nothing was happening.
Yeah, and then she tried to play the tone chimes. That didn't work either. So I played the tone chimes on Sunday morning for her because you could have played the one, but not both.
It's totally frustrating, people. I want you to know.
Yep.
It's totally frustrating, as I'm sure anyone who plays any stringed instrument or keyboard instrument knows. You need both hands.
You kind of do. Yeah, I sweated a couple of Christmases when I was in Northborough because I thought I was getting arthritis. In my right hand, my right thumb.
Yes.
So I had a cortisone shot. Now I had a cortisone shot. This was about 5, 6, 7 years ago. It hasn't hurt since.
Well, that's where my problem is. The bone that connects my thumb to my wrist is bruised.
Do you think you're going to need a cortisone shot after this?
I don't know. I'll find out.
Okay.
I'm going to keep it on for a week like a good girl.
You are.
Yes, I am.
And maybe if you need help next week, you should
call.
But call before 2:45 for a
really.
Yes.
Because the music is going to change a little bit next week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Not that we haven't done 4 weeks of bread.
Bread, yes.
But we would like to change it up a little bit. So call me on Friday.
I'll see if how it feels. I took it off this morning to get ready for church, but the hand hurts. I mean, I wasn't going to wear this into the shower. The hand hurts when I use it, so it's just as well that it's immobilized.
Right, and it doesn't hurt when it's in the
thing, or when I'm holding it still, which is what I should be doing more of.
Yeah, could you do that right now, please? If you're not watching this, she's like moving the arm up and down.
Yeah.
It's like
all through Mass, I was holding it like this.
Yeah, well, I thought you being one of those altar boys where they used to do that before.
No, it felt better when I let my arm hang. It kind of throbbed.
Yeah.
So if I pull it up like this, it doesn't throb so much.
Well, because the blood isn't rushing to the extremity. That's why.
Exactly. So I'll just sit here with it up.
There you go. And that hopefully will be a lot better.
But I have to give a shout out to a parish in Denver where I went last.
Tell us a little bit about your trip.
Well, mostly the trip was visiting with relatives. We hadn't seen my husband's brothers and sisters. He's got 5 of them. We hadn't seen them in like 4 years.
There you go.
We were going last summer and events didn't let us go. So we had a wonderful time. And my sister-in-law took us to a parish in Denver last Sunday. It's called Most Precious Blood in Denver.
Okay.
And it was a wonderful parish. It was a beautiful modern church with a baptismal font pool.
Oh, I love those.
baptismal pool at the entrance, and the pool had a little, like, it was like a bathtub and a sink. It was a great big pool, and
Okay.
then a little pool on top of it.
I like that.
And that's where there were 2 baptisms that day.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's where they baptized the babies, clad in a diaper only, and lowered into the pool.
Oh,
And it was just wonderful. The liturgy was wonderful. The music, I tend to be terribly critical when I'm a pew person, and I mea culpa. That's not a good thing to be, but I am. But I really had nothing to complain about. The music was wonderfully done. I may have tweaked some of the choices, but maybe they were just tired of singing bread songs. And the homily was marvelous,
Mhm.
and the people were young families, lots of kids, and the church was alive. I almost felt like I was home.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Good. We like that.
Shout out to Most Precious Blood.
Right. You like that when you're away,
Yeah.
to be able to find churches that are sort of like home.
Yeah. And this was.
Good. That's so good to hear. And while we're speaking of Denver, I do want to make note of the fact that those of you who follow us know that I am a big fan of other podcasts, the Catholics Next Door, especially Greg and Jennifer Willits. And yeah, we make jokes about the fact that I'm their very first Patreon. In all of this. Well, they've had a family, you don't want to say tragedy in our Christian faith. You want to say that it's a family emergency, and Jennifer's father, Hector Alvarez, passed away suddenly on Saturday. It wasn't we who have been following the podcast have known that Hector recently got sick again, but there was no foreshadowing that it was anything that they couldn't handle. And Greg just sort of put it up there on Friday. And, he passed away at 3:00 in the morning on Saturday. And one of the things I read about it was on the Feast of the Assumption, and his nurse's name was Mary. If you know about the Willitses, they have a particular devotion to Jesus through Mary. So this for them must have been extremely poignant. We knew that Jennifer had been flying to Georgia because that's where they're from and that's where her parents were. So I just want to send my most heartfelt prayers to Greg and Jennifer. And if those of you who have come to this podcast from there, I'm sure you all join me in multiple prayers for them in the days and the weeks and the months that are going to come now. Because I know that the mom is elderly as well. So this is going to be probably a big adjustment for everybody involved. And those of us who have been through this before, we know how you feel.
And we send our condolences.
Yes, we do. We do so much. So please pray for Hector Alvarez this weekend, for Greg and Jennifer and their whole family. I believe she has a brother. She has a brother, John. So it's just, and they were married for 50 years. So that reminds me of my parents. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, when we get to be this age, this is an occurrence for us more and more. They're 10 years younger than I am. So this is the beginning of what you and I, Linda, have already been through. So it's one step at a time, one day at a time. It helps us appreciate everybody in our lives.
Right.
Even more so. So, folks, there probably won't be a podcast from them this week, and rightfully so, or maybe not next week either. They need to pull themselves, as a family to get around each other, and that's important. So, not wanting to let's try to move off of that topic gracefully. And how was now? You just didn't go to Denver. You also
that's my husband's family. I went to Baltimore, where my family is.
So equal opportunity family here.
Yeah, it's an equal opportunity family. We call it our God Bless America tour.
There you go.
So his family in the mountains, we cross the prairies, and with the oceans white with foam, we're with my family.
That's really good. I like
God Bless America tour.
that. God Bless America tour.
And my brother has a house at the ocean, white with foam.
Of course.
And so I spent a few days in town seeing old friends, and my elderly aunt who is 94, God bless her.
Oh,
and we visited with her a lot. And then we took off for 4 days to the ocean, had a grand time. I never went in the ocean once, but that's okay. I like the ocean from afar.
oh. And see, I would have jumped in.
No, not me. And yeah, that was the other thing. So we went from Providence to Baltimore to Denver, back to Providence.
There you go.
God bless America.
17 days out of a suitcase later. She comes home with a prize.
Yes, it's just a klutz, man. One of these, I always thought maybe I'd grow into gracefulness, but it hasn't seemed to happen. So
yeah, some of us just don't.
No.
Sadly. All right. Well, our other two are not with us. I know Linda, Nancy was out at the parish picnic this weekend. And Steve, of course, only having been at this place for 7 weeks, is still in the break-in phase.
Yes.
Which is going to last 3 years. So
you can't call it the honeymoon phase.
No, it's not the honeymoon phase. It's the break-in phase.
Yeah.
So it's just you and I, girlfriend.
You and I, kiddo. We'll do it.
She has a story for us this week with the homily, so you're going to like this. For those of you who are new, welcome. What we do here is take a look back at the previous weekend's liturgies instead of everybody else who looks forward at them, and try to make some sense of everything we see, hear, sometimes smell. We haven't done, there has been no incense lately, so
not an ordinary time.
Save that for the high holies.
Yeah.
But we also take a look at rituals and church music, technology, whatever. And we have our continuing up until episode 90, the voice of the people. And this week's voice of the people, it was a horse race.
Yeah.
Down to the bitter end, only 2 points separated what finally won. And we will discuss that later on. So grab your favorite beverage. And right now, cold water is about what to do it for us. And we're in the middle of a heat wave.
Yes.
Yes, it is not pretty here in New England right now, but we can't complain because we had all that snow.
Yeah, we did.
So now I resigned myself to not complain this year.
Yes.
But we've also had a relatively nice summer.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've had only one other 2 or 3 day stretch of heat, and that was somewhere in the middle of July. So now that's the middle of August, and we're going to have
another stretch of heat. And so we really can't complain because that's what August is, heat.
Right. And the only thing is that if it goes too long, then it runs into school.
Yeah.
And unlike the rest of the country, our schools are not air conditioned.
No.
So the poor kids and the teachers have to go to school with the fans and
yeah, it's bad.
And Catholic school is bad because you've got to wear the wool skirts.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, it's bad. So hopefully the heat will go away just in time for school to start, which starts earlier and earlier every year.
I know. But my grands don't start until September. So that's really, it's before Labor Day, but it's still not until September.
Well, we're in that weird year where Labor Day is late because
as late as it can be. Yeah.
Right. It's so we're just in that weird year. And everybody's saying, school's starting till the 9th of September.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, hopefully there won't be a lot of snow again this year. It's going to be June 30th when they get up. So grab that cup of cold beverage and settle in your comfy chair. And I don't think Linda and I will go off the rails this week.
Nah, probably not.
Did you hear last week's podcast.
No, I haven't had a chance.
Oh.
Haven't had a chance to do anything.
You and the rest of our listeners and viewers have been taking the vacation this summer.
I was on vacation.
I know, but some of you have admitted to me, and I won't say who your names. I want to, but I won't. One of them admitted to me freely this past week. Oh yeah, I got to go back and listen to the podcast. I haven't listened to it all summer. Come on, folks. We think you don't love us anymore. We have no feedback. You're not listening. We're noticing our metrics take a dive here. Come on, gang. Get with it. We're here every week.
Yeah, we are.
Except the last one in August. And I will say it again at the end of the podcast, but we were going to take next week off. But I have a chance to go away for a few days the following weekend, and I'm going, since I'm the
you better go
this thing, and no one wants to learn how. As I look at Linda, no one wants to learn how to do this, so we have to flip it. So next,
I would mess it up. I would just mess it up.
No, you wouldn't.
Yeah, I would.
No, you wouldn't. But so I'm going to be away the following week. So there will be no show for Monday, August 31st. But there will be one next week. Now, whether it's going to be a solo show by me, because I knew people were going to be away next week, or we may do it live on a Monday morning.
Yes. In which case, I'll be there.
Right. At least Linda will be here, and Steve might be able to. Nancy's the only one who has the day job, so she can't.
We have our NPM chapter picnic next weekend.
Right. So, and that's fine, but so next week's show will either be me, or I thought of maybe a best of, if I felt like going through everything, if I felt like going through hours of.
Yeah.
Then I said probably not, but it may also include, we're going to we've been, during the summer we have these choral reads.
Yeah.
And they're wonderful things. We have another one this week, and I could be persuaded to pull out my camera and, start videoing in the middle of it. So who knows? If you follow me on Periscope, at Ritual Diva, you may see something tomorrow night. So, I mean, again, this is Monday. You may see something tonight.
And we'll all be there.
And every one of us will be there because we're all going to this.
Yeah.
We haven't figured out where we're going to eat yet, but we're all going to this. So watch on Periscope. I'll put that in our show notes in the honorable mentions. So since we have no feedback and no one's listening to us, no one will care. Anyway,
we can do whatever the heck we want.
We most certainly can. So let's go right into it then.
Do you hear what I hear?
Do you hear what I hear for the 20th Sunday of Ordinary Time? And here we go again with more bread than you can stand. The metaphors keep coming, my friends. And this week, our first reading sets that banquet table with Proverbs 9. And wisdom is setting out her table, and she's inviting everybody to come and partake of the goods that she has prepared. So, and I like that wisdom is always referred to as a female.
A female, exactly.
I like that.
They got that right.
Hey, who else could prepare a table? Well, not anymore, but those days, who else would prepare a table? Yeah. But it's a nice counterbalance.
Yes,
having wisdom be the female pronoun in the Hebrew is kind of, it's a nice counterbalance to the God who is the masculine.
Yeah, I'm happy to be wisdom.
Yeah, I'm me too. That'd be fine with me.
It's a good thing to have.
No problem whatsoever. The Psalm again this week was 34. 34. Didn't see.
Which after 4 weeks, the congregation is really belting that one out.
They most certainly are. In whatever version you use.
Yes.
They are certainly doing that. We're still in Ephesians. We've gotten up to chapter 5. And this, I had to, and I didn't say this to you this weekend, but the word, is it debauchery?
It is debauchery. I had 2 lectors do debauchery.
Yes.
I thought maybe they read the pronunciation in the lector guide. Sometimes they have the pronunciations there for more difficult words. And when both of them did it, I thought, well, maybe they read it in the lector guide. But then the 10:30 lecture said debauchery, and she read the same guide. So
I'm wondering if it has anything to do with the word Bacchus.
I don't know. Could be.
I did not look it up to see if it was a, tomato thing.
It probably does have something to do with Bacchus, but Bacchus is spelled with a double C.
Right, with a double C.
And this was a CH.
Right.
So it would seem to me it would be debauchery.
It would seem to me to be debauchery as well.
I never heard it pronounced debauchery, but.
And you're the English major, so
I never heard it.
I usually defer to you.
Debauchery. I just thought, well, maybe I'll have to check. I don't have to go anywhere to check. I can go right here to check.
There she goes. And doing that, I love the line in Ephesians, do not continue in ignorance.
Yes, I love that line.
Try to understand what is the will of the Lord. And do not get drunk on wine.
Yeah, that made my husband tremble.
It's like you get slipped that right in. It's like, whoa, hold on here. So we can get drunk on other things for those people who are literalists.
There is nothing here that gives you the pronunciation of debauchery.
Okay.
They just have Ephesians. That's it. I would say debauchery.
I would say debauchery too. I heard the same too you heard.
Yeah.
So it was like, first time I went, huh? Second time I went, what?
Yeah, well, Trudy read it at the 10:30, and she said debauchery, and so I thought, well, she prepares from the same book everybody else prepares from. So,
yeah, and I would have said debauchery.
Yeah, me too.
So
that's all right.
I just don't understand sometimes,
I know.
Darling, I don't know why
but I bring these things up because I think they're hysterical.
Yeah, they are.
I know. Slap.
They are.
And then we are still in John 6.
As you say, another week of grumbling Jews.
Yes, another week of grumbling Jews. No offense, but no. I mean, how long? They've been grumbling since Moses.
Yes, they have.
And they continue to grumble this week because they just don't get it.
Which is, yeah, that's right. They don't get it. And in all fairness, I'm sure it was difficult for them to get.
Yeah, if somebody I know I've been following for 3 years finally says to me, "You must eat of my flesh," I'd be like, "Say what?"
What? Yeah.
But we do have the gift of hindsight here.
Yes, we do.
But still, I mean, if having the faith lasted 2,000 plus years, and having people convert just by looking at Jesus, I mean, it's the grumbling. Yeah, I don't get it.
But I know.
The world is what they don't want to do, what they find too difficult, they'll grumble.
Yeah, of course. And
it's like teenagers. Nah, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, you are.
If you want your iPhone back, you will.
Yeah. Right.
Well, if I had been a parent during this technologically fun time, I would have. My kids would be in therapy for years.
Oh yes.
Knowing what I know about technology and how to bend it and how to do things with it, they would have been like, "Are you kidding me?"
And how to monitor it.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Give lessons in that.
They I have to give kudos to my son and daughter-in-law because they are very watchful of what their kids do on the internet.
Good for them.
Yeah.
You have to be.
Yeah. They've allowed them YouTube to watch and listen, and they've set up Facebook accounts for them, but they monitor them.
That's great.
Yeah, it's really good, really good. So
No, because it means they're also invested.
yeah, oh, they very much so.
It's not a babysitter. It's not a
No.
attention distractor for whatever reason you might have, but
They're very invested in that.
good. And you see, by the way, the kids treat the electronics as well.
Yeah,
It's not a plaything. It's important, but it's fun.
it's actually my grandson uses the computer more like you would use a library. He's very big into Google and Wikipedia.
Oh.
Anything he doesn't understand, he looks up.
Wow. Well, can he understand that Wikipedia is not always right?
It may not be the be all and end all of it, but mostly he does Google.
Yeah.
And tries to find some. He's very invested in dates, historical things, more than opinions. So,
Okay.
He'd
make a great genealogist.
Yeah, he would. He would.
You should appoint him the family historian.
I should, except that I already got one. My daughter.
Didn't know there was already one in the bunch.
Yeah, my daughter is crazy for the old photographs. She loves them. Loves them.
All right. Well, does she dig like I do? And
not as actively as you do.
Yeah. That's my hobby.
Yes.
Well, it's not my hobby du jour. I started it about 10 years ago and got sucked in like a Hoover to finding dates and finding people. And because I'm the last of my line and I want to know, where all these people came from that are now stopping with me.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, so who were all of you? And this week's assignment was to go looking, and this is something, okay, so how does this apply to what we're talking about right now? Well, let me tell you something, and this is something that I'm developing for my my folks at the parish for this year. We're doing a whole study on the Bible, and I've entitled it God's Word, Our Story. And it's true that this is not just instruction, it's history, it's poetry, it's all of that. Just like a family isn't always just what it seems on the top.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the things I'm going to encourage them throughout the year is to also look into their own families. What is their family's story?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good thing.
And how much is it like some of the people in the Bible? So in order to know your story, you have to look it up.
That's right.
Call it. You have to talk about it. It's the same thing with the Bible. You have to understand the story of God, God's love for us. You have to share it.
You have, well, you have to know it first of all, and then share it.
Then share it. It's the same thing with the story of your family. You have to know it before you can share it. Where do you come from?
All right, I'm either having a stroke or my earphones are going.
Uh-oh. No.
Wait a minute.
Could you hear that?
I could hear that, yes.
Okay, good. We'll give a little.
All of a sudden, one of my ears cut out. I don't know. All right.
It happens. That's happened to me before. Don't let it frighten you.
Okay.
So the homily that we both heard this weekend was fun. Now you have to set this up so that, and I think there's gonna be a lot of people out there who are definitely going to, resonate with this.
Well, it's kind of cute, actually.
It's great.
I have a really good relationship with my pastor, and every week on Thursday or Friday, whenever it is he works on his homily, he'll send it to me. And I try to, incorporate something that he said in the homily into the music. And I send him the music and vice versa. Okay. So it works out really well. So, Thursday I'm in Denver, and, I get an email. Here's my homily for this week. And I'm reading along, and I kind of know we're in the middle of the Bread of Life discourse, but I'm not sure exactly where we are. So I'm going, okay, oh, good, this good. I get home and see what I have programmed. And I realize that according to his homily, I should have programmed Rory Cooney's We Will Serve the Lord. And I should have programmed Michael Jonkis's Lord, to whom shall we go? But I hadn't programmed either one. So I went back to the readings. And I said, he did the wrong week.
Whoa.
So Friday night, I emailed him. I said, it's a lovely homily. It's absolutely wonderful. I said, for next week, I said, these are not the readings for this week. Oh, my Lord. He said, thank you for catching that. So he wrote a homily, and this is the homily he wrote for this set of readings.
Yes, he rewound himself, and now he's got a homily for next week.
Yes, now he doesn't have to worry about next week.
That's true.
But I just thought that was so funny that I thought, I know I'd programmed these two songs for these particular readings, and I didn't, and that's when I knew something was wrong.
But think about it, Linda. How many times have we put up the wrong music?
Oh, yeah.
How many times have we put up like the next week's music, or the cantor has the next week's music, and it happens.
Yeah. But
so absolutely no points off, Father John.
Oh, no. It's easy enough, especially during this Bread of Life discourse thing, because it all starts to sound the same after a while. I think he was just looking forward to getting to a new topic. But
oops.
Anyway.
Okay.
This is what happened. He also incorporated that story into this homily, which was kind of cute. Anyway, he begins by quoting, "The bread that I will give is my flesh for the life of the world." When Jesus is speaking of eating his flesh and drinking his blood, he's talking about a past event, a present event, and a future event. Mm-hmm. In the past, God gave the Israelites manna in the desert to help them live. And it did help them live, but they eventually died. In the present, every time we gather to celebrate the Eucharist, Jesus is feeding us with his body and blood so that we may have life within us. In the future, we can hearken back to the first reading from Wisdom, where the banquet is prepared. And in our faith tradition, we believe that this is the eternal banquet we will all attend in heaven. And then he went on to describe the eternal banquet as one where nobody has to watch their cholesterol or calories, which made me very happy.
Looking forward to that.
Yes, looking forward to that. We all are. We understand most of this, but for the people back in Jesus' day, this was a difficult teaching to accept. And we will hear next week how some stopped following him, and at which point he inserted the story that I told you ahead of time. For they are thinking, how can this man claim to have food greater than the manna that God has given to his chosen people? Is it something we have grown to believe that the bread and wine, I'm sorry, it's not a question. It is something we have grown to believe that the bread and wine is transformed into the body and blood of Christ. Yet this, in the end, based totally on faith, our belief that Jesus can indeed feed us for our life's journey. That's a long sentence.
Yes, it is.
But basically, he's saying that because of what Jesus has told us and what we believe, that the bread and wine is indeed transformed into his body and blood. St. Paul reminds us that we who eat the body of Christ and drink his blood must be filled with the Spirit, and thus we must give thanks to God in everything we do. I always like that line, with psalms, hymns, and spiritual songs.
Yep.
Everybody sing. Then we receive the Eucharist. When we receive the Eucharist at this liturgy, do we truly believe it is the body of Christ? There was a Protestant minister, and this he inserted this morning. He didn't write it down. There was a Protestant minister who said that if, like the Catholics, I really believed that this was the body and blood of Christ, I would be crawling on my hands and knees
Mhm.
in awe up to the communion procession. So do we truly believe that this is the body and blood of Christ? And if we do, how do we show it? If we believe it, then how does it help us be the people of wisdom, of love, and of grace? Let us pledge not only to be those who receive the Eucharist, but be people who live out the effects of the Eucharist in our lives.
There you go.
Not bad for a quick homily.
Yeah, really. Duh. Well, we've seen what he does when he has more time, but
yeah, right.
no, I thought that was
Yeah.
a little bit remarkable.
Yeah.
To get that, like, whoops,
Yeah,
that right out before Mass on Saturday.
yeah.
Because there are a lot of gentlemen who take their time to do this type of thing, and I give them all the credit. And
Yes.
there's probably an equal amount of gentlemen who run it right off the cuff.
Yep, right.
Run it right off the cuff.
Right.
You have those who actually can do that,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have those that can't.
Right. And do it anyway.
Right. So we've all heard those homilies, but
So,
we
but
don't.
no, this was just fine for the fourth week of the Bread of Life.
Yes. But you know what it is, in the wisdom of the church, you need 4 weeks
Yeah.
every 3 years to get this message across. I mean, yes, you have the Feast of the Body and Blood of Christ once a year, but that's sometimes it's just part of the end of the Easter season and people
Right.
not really paying attention. Putting these 4 weeks together like this shows the importance of what this is. And given the fact that now there is a percentage of our people that don't believe this,
Yeah.
I think it's all the more reason.
Yeah.
And he's right. If we truly believe this, we should be approaching Eucharist with a very different demeanor.
Yeah.
And I once had in fact, it was on the Catholics Next Door
Aha.
when they had their radio show, where I called in on one of these things where people were saying, we should go back to kneeling and receiving on the tongue and all of that. And I phoned in that day and said, look, folks, I said, I have a feeling that while an outward action should reflect an inward devotion,
Yeah.
it doesn't always.
No.
And there were plenty of people who knelt there and they weren't there either. I think you really have to be more concerned with people's interior and how they approach
Exactly.
sacrament.
Exactly. I totally agree.
Because you can give lip service to a lot of things.
Sure can. Yeah.
So, and I know I got in trouble for that. I always get in trouble for that kind of stuff, but I do it anyway.
Well, I don't know why you should get in trouble for that, because it makes perfect sense to me.
Perfect
Why
sense.
do an outward show if there's nothing inside?
Right. Exactly. And that's the whole thing. So we need this time to really, really go introspective here on this whole thing. And I know once we go through this bread of, and I know we've kidded about it the last couple of weeks too, but it's still very serious. You need to take this time.
Oh yeah. And this is John's institution of the Eucharist.
Well,
So,
this is it. And this is, because I was able to help you with an early liturgy on the weekend, I was able again to check out the TV Mass in my area so that I could have a homily. And thank goodness I did. But it was a very quick one because, TV Masses are half an hour around here. That's I've said this before, it's about the only amount they can afford to buy.
Yeah.
Unless you're watching Catholic TV, and then he does it every day, but that's their own station. And he will usually get 2 or 3 of them on the weekend from places, and they're just not at times that I can watch and report back here. So I was able to catch this one from the Fall River Diocese. Happened to be Father Maurice Garvin from Espiritu Santo Parish in Fall River, which is my birth parish. So I'm very, very familiar. In fact, you would think that a Portuguese parish with a French sounding last name pastor, he's half Portuguese. His mom was Portuguese. His father was French. So that in Fall River, that's a normal occurrence. Anyway, so he gave an extremely, I would almost want to say less than 2 minutes. Homily. But the very first thing he said was, reiterating what's gone on the last couple of weeks. He says, you need to understand there is no institution narrative. There is no account of the Last Supper in John's Gospel. When you get there, it's all about washing feet.
Right.
It's all about service. That's what is emphasized. It's not that this is my body, this is my blood. You get that in the others, and you get that in Paul's letters to Corinthians. Yeah. So he said that's why the church takes this chapter. It's this chapter 6 in John's Gospel that focuses heavily on Eucharist as the bread of life.
Yes.
It wasn't called Eucharist then, but it, so we're talking about the bread of life and who is the bread of life, not what. That this food is nourishment for both body and soul, and we're all called to take part in it. Everyone is invited, like wisdom sets the table. Jesus is setting the table these last couple of weeks to say, yes, and now here it is for you. And the Eucharist promises us life eternal, both life eternal and strength for life on earth. So there's that heavenly banquet.
Yes.
And then each time we celebrate Eucharist, we are united to one another in the family of the Lord.
Yay.
And that was it. And that was it.
I like that.
Done. Over. Zitch. So it was very short and to the point. Again, when Eucharist isn't done just as an alchemy lesson. Okay? Right. And I hate to say, I don't want to reduce it to that type of thing.
Right.
I will say this. I mean, it's not an alchemy lesson. You have to be present for this. An assembly needs to be there as a family.
Yes.
And we all know how families get along. Yes. But we all have to be there for this. That's why masses with one person with the priest, we're just taken off the table.
Yeah.
I think you can still do it, but they're very strict under the circumstances of which it can be done. But you need to have the fourfold presence in order for all of this to be. You need the species, you need the bread and wine, you need to have the assembly, you need to hear the word.
Yes.
That was a big thing in the old days. Oh yeah, I can show up, I just have to show up for the gospel.
Yes.
No. How can you understand what it is and who it is you are receiving if you don't hear why?
Well, in the old days, all we had was the epistle. They didn't have the Old Testament reading.
That's right. It was that, a psalm, a gradual, and then the gospel, correct?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I'm trying to remember back to those days when I was.
Yeah, back to those days. Yeah. But the Old Testament reading was a Vatican II innovation.
Right. And thank God it was.
That's what I say.
Quite frankly. And you have to have the presider.
Yeah.
Here's your fourfold presence of Christ in the Eucharist. That is Eucharistic theology.
Yes.
Post-Vatican II. Okay.
And it's a beautiful Eucharistic theology.
It is.
It broadens the presence of Christ to the entire church and not just a little white square on the altar, Right.
But again, it is important for our people to understand that, or everything becomes reduced to that host.
Yes.
And that's not a bad thing in itself, But why put God in a box?
Yeah.
Why limit God?
And limit, I mean, the like you were saying earlier about telling our story. That's what the whole liturgy of the word is. You
Right.
know?
It tells the story.
Telling our story. And it's just a shame to miss that.
Right.
Because you're coming for one thing and one thing alone, and that's to receive communion, and you think you've fulfilled your obligation.
Right.
No?
See, that's a disconnect that I have in religious education.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're more concerned, and this is across the board. This is not specific to where I am employed, but it's across the board from what I've seen, where people limit God to, I have to get this sacrament, this sacrament, this sacrament. That's what makes me Catholic. No, that is not what makes you Catholic. What makes you Catholic is coming and listening to the stories, being with everybody, receiving, and then going out and doing. And in order to do that, and all of that should be the basis and the strength of your relationship with Jesus.
Right.
Hello.
And see, it's not easy, but attending the Eucharist weekly helps you to do that.
Yes, it does. If you're showing up at
You can't
Christmas,
do it alone.
and if you're showing up at Christmas and Easter only,
Yeah.
it's like, you're only showing up at it's like only visiting grandma on the holidays.
Yeah, on the holidays.
And you forget about grandma the rest of the time of the year.
You can't build any kind of a relationship on twice a year.
Right. So how do you know grandma if you have only been there to her house twice a year?
Yeah.
Same thing with God. How do you know God? How do you know Jesus if you're only there twice a year?
Right.
We want you there. We'll welcome you there. We will be so happy you are with us.
You, yes.
But we feel for you because you are missing out on so much.
Yeah.
So that's what this whole Bread of Life thing, and we have one more week. We wrap it up next week with the bread.
Actually, I'm because of the picnic, I won't be here next week. But I think
unless we do Monday.
Monday. And if we do Monday, I'll say it again. But I think one of the most poignant lines that shows the humanity of Jesus is in that gospel where he turns to his disciples after everybody walks away and says, "Will you leave me too?"
Yep.
It really shows his humanity.
Yep.
And you feel like, oh, poor Jesus.
Well, no, and that's the truth, because Jesus is still saying that today.
Yes, he is. Yes,
Will
he is
you
still
leave
saying
me
that today.
as he watches people walk away from his church, wherever that is.
Yep.
Will you leave me too?
So, but that's next week. If we do it on Monday, I'll say it again.
Oh, good. We can talk more about it.
Yes.
We would really like to know what you all are talking about. And please, I know some people take the summer off from these things, but please come back and give us some feedback.
Yay.
Or at least listen to our, because if you are sitting there binging on this in the middle of September, you're going to be so lost.
Yeah.
In all honesty, you're going to be so lost. So please send us some feedback now so you don't have to. MondayMorningCatholic@gmail.com is our email address. You can always put comments in our comment box at MondayMorningCatholic.net, and our comment box is a lot friendlier than a lot of other comment boxes. Facebook.com/Monday Morning Catholic is where I put up lots of things during the week, including our, one of them becomes the Voice of the People, which we're going to get to right after this. I did say earlier that if you are following me personally at Ritual Diva on Twitter, I believe I've kind of hooked it up to at Catholic as well. So there might be a Periscope in your future. So if you go in and follow us, go to Periscope as well and follow us, and you'll get something. Or you can always do this.
But here's my number, so call me, baby.
You can call us at the Voice Feedback line, 774-955-0659. let's get to that voice of the people this week. Okay, the first couple of weeks we had liturgy wars. Last week we really talked about music. And I don't know how many people we may have lost for that, because you would have loved it, Linda, because we got into our music realm.
I'll have to listen to it.
Yes, but this week we're going to another place.
Darling, I don't know why I go to extremes.
Well, not too far of an extreme. We're still in church, but we are going to be, we had two things that sort of beat, we're running up the flagpole all week. But this is the one that won out, and it's good. I'm glad, because Linda can really talk to this more as a parent. I can talk to this as a church minister, but it was a letter in the HuffPost religion section that said, "Dear parents with young children in church." Okay. And it was a blogger who was writing a note to all of those parents who have a real tough time bringing their children to mass.
Yes.
Okay? And I do sympathize with them, especially when the kids are throwing the Cheerios, and, or they've decided to take temper tantrum number 6 to a whole new level.
Yes.
But they're still there. And that's what's important. I would rather hear the sounds of children crying and banging things than the silence of just a bunch of older people.
Yeah.
Seriously. So
I'm coming at it from both sides. I've been in both sets of shoes.
Mhm.
As a mother, I had a daughter who I could bring to church anytime, any day. She sat there with a book and didn't make a peep. Then I had a son.
Oh, poor Tim.
Yeah, I know. I love my children dearly, but but Tim, and hats off to Tim, who also helped me out this week.
Yes.
Playing for me at 10:30. But Tim was very vocal for a boy. Usually boys are climbers.
Right.
Stuff. But Tim was very vocal for a boy. And when we moved to Rhode Island, I was really kind of wanted to make friends.
Mhm.
So we were having a mission during Lent. And I thought I would go and they had it at noon for the retirees and the stay-at-home moms, and they had it at night for everybody else. So I go at noon, and it was I can't think of his name now, but it was some very well-known priest from Massachusetts who had come to do the mission.
Was that the healing priest?
I don't know. I can't. Tim wasn't. Tim was like a year old.
Okay.
So you know how long ago this was.
Mm-hmm.
And so here's Father up there in the pulpit, and he's expounding on these wonderful things. And he said, and we all have to come to terms with our relationship with Jesus. And this little voice would go, our relationship with Jesus.
So you repeated it.
Yeah, he repeated the end of every sentence. So I tucked him under one arm and went out with him.
Oh.
Now, then I got firmly ensconced in the music program, and my husband would take him to church. And my husband wanted to go to church to pray.
Uh-oh.
Was having nothing of watching a kid and we used to have babysitting in the rectory.
Mm-hmm.
So my son went to babysitting in the rectory until he was 6 years old and getting ready for First Communion.
Wow.
Because he just wasn't a sit-stiller. And when he was in church and when he was vocal, we would take him out. Because I didn't feel like I could impinge on everybody else's prayer.
Right.
As a minister, if a kid is pitching a fit, and I mean screaming, I get extremely distracted. I just do. It's just human. It's the humanity. I hear his crying baby, and as a mother, I want to say, pick that kid up and go out. It's like, walk with it, make it be quiet. sometimes it's very frustrating because the parents don't teach their children how to go to church.
Well, the one thing that makes me nervous is that they always sit in the back.
Yeah, they can't see
They
anything.
can't see a darn thing but the
Um,
backs of people's heads.
My friend has a 2-year-old,
Mm.
Patty, they brought her to church from day one, and they've had to take her back into the cry room on many occasions. But they've brought her from day one, and she's learning how to behave in church.
Yes, she is.
And I give them all the credit in the world because she's some weeks she's a real handful and they have to take her, and some weeks she sits there. But here's the thing: she's 2 years old. She knows what to do with the sign of peace. She can make the sign of the cross.
Mhm.
She when I go, let us pray to the Lord, she answers me.
Raises her hands. I've seen
Yeah.
it.
She raises her hand and says, Lord, hear our prayer.
Yep.
So, she's learned what to do in church. And so I find that it's a wonderful thing if the parents have the intestinal fortitude to do it.
Mhm.
And I know it takes a lot
Yeah,
of
It
patience.
does. And that's the problem. We
It takes a lot
want
of patience.
the generations behind us
Mm.
want everything to be as quick and snappy as they think they were
Yeah.
when they were kids. What they had was incredibly patient parents.
Yes.
They have no patience.
Nope. They have no patience. And
Motivation.
oftentimes they don't, once they get in church,
Right.
they don't even know they have children.
Right.
Because the kids are sliding up and down the pew and the parents are just like, hey.
Whatever.
But I give all the credit in the world to parents who bring their children and
Mhm.
teach their children.
Exactly. And that's just it. We're all there to mimic, for them to mimic.
Yeah.
Parents should be the primary. Okay, you take your hand, you do this.
Yeah, exactly.
No, and that's what they need to
They
do.
don't understand it at 2 years old.
Right.
When they'll grow into it.
That's right. They only pick up it. They only take as much as they can understand.
Right.
And then they'll come back and take a little bit more, and they'll take a little bit more. But if you leave them home until they're 5
Yeah.
or 6, when it's first communion time, and you wonder why they don't know how to behave in church, there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
And our worship is not the reason.
So it's I just think parents need to be attentive
Mhm.
to the active teaching of their children how to go to liturgy. And it's tough because at home you say to the kid, "Come on, walk, jump, stand still,
Yeah.
talk,"
Yeah.
and then you take them to church and you go, "Sit down and be quiet."
Right. Right. Exactly. But then I also want to address those who have already been through it, those who have never had to, like myself, or older people. Folks, if these families do not bring these children,
Yeah.
there will be no more.
Yeah.
Okay? I have to be honest with that. There have been many a deadly death stare at these families, and then families don't come back because they feel they're not wanted. I'm not saying embrace the child and, give it a lollipop, but what I'm saying is understand that they're making an effort.
They're making an effort. Yeah.
And encourage the effort that they're making. And it's better if they sit up front because then they can see everything.
Can see. Yeah. And
And-
I can't tell you how many people have said to me, "Oh, thank God you're up front because my kid watches you the whole mass."
Right. And parents, there is no Catholic law that says you can't pick up your child in the middle of the mass and walk out.
Out with it. Yeah.
Don't be afraid. I mean, if Catholics have ever had the chance to go to an Eastern liturgy, an Orthodox, they're 3 hours long and people get up and leave all the time.
Yeah.
No one cares. They just kind of get up, walk out, come back in. It's like home. And that's, I mean, yes, our worship has a certain decorum, but please
But
if
yeah,
to go outside or to the bathroom or just
it seems to me that taking a screaming child out of the assembly preserves the decorum, doesn't violate it.
right.
You know?
But again, don't be, we're not judging you as a whole, parents.
bring the children, and when they're having a bad day, most places have a cry room.
Right. Exactly. There's a place you can go for refuge.
Or as our pastor likes to call it, the parenting room.
Yes.
Because that's where you teach your children how to go to church.
Yes, but where is our parenting room, Linda?
Behind the altar.
Yes, where everybody can see.
Yes. Particularly the kids that go in there and put their tongues against the glass.
That too. It's a very strange place for a private.
Yeah, well, it's it's an old,
the only place you had.
It's a pre-Vatican church,
Right. It was the only place that was had.
It's the only place that was had. Is right.
Yeah.
The vestibule was small to begin with, so it wasn't going to go there.
No, it wasn't. And I've worked in churches where there is no cry room. So, in fact, I believe most of our collaborators. Oh, well, I don't know about Rochester, but the other two, there is no cry room.
No cry room.
Nope.
Well, and I'm not saying you need to sit there every single week.
Right.
There's a place to go when your child is just had it.
Yeah.
And every child gets to that point at some time.
You, and if it's in the middle of hey, look, there are adults that have had it in the middle of a mass. They know better than to just kind of.
But a child is just going to scream.
Right.
And,
it's fine.
Just get up with it. Take him or her, and make him or her happy. Where
or at least get them to a point where you can talk to them.
Exactly.
Stop them from redlining, and just say, okay, now can we go back?
Go back. Yeah.
And yes, that means you're going to miss something, but it's all part of what you do as
it's all part of your job as a parent.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Well, there were a lot of people who felt the same way because that got the most attention this week on our Facebook page. So watch again. We've already got one up for next week that could definitely, well,
I'll
tell you, if that one wins, we're going to have a Monday show.
Yeah.
Because I can't do this alone without the rest of them, or we may have to put it off until we get back, because we have a feeling that's going to be a hot topic.
Yeah, well, it always is.
It always is. And if you want to know what it is, facebook.com/Monday Morning Catholic. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but Linda is going to tell you. We've got a quick commercial before we go.
Yes.
I talked about last week. She's got the info, the 411, as the kids say.
On October 16th, which is coming up fast.
Faster than we'd like.
We're going to have what we call a once in a blue moon concert. It's a fundraising concert for a ministry that David Haas does to train young people in the art of ministry. It's called Music Ministry Alive, and it's a very noble cause. And in order to fund this cause, the three of them, Marty Haugen, David Haas, Michael Jonkus, go maybe half a dozen times a year to various places in the country and give a concert. They give of their own time, they give of their own money, and all we have to do is put them up and feed them and do the publicity.
It cost us a lot, but
that's okay. I'll feed them. So it's going to be October the 16th at 7:30.
That's a Friday night.
Gregory the Great Church in 360 Coesit Road in Warwick, Rhode Island. The tickets are $25 in advance and $30 at the door. And all money goes to the training program, Music Ministry Alive. I would come. There's the flyer. We're going to get the flyer.
There's a beautiful flyer. Oh no! Wait a minute. Hold that flyer back up. I gotta zone in on that. So we have the old picture and the new picture. Oh, ouch!
Is that cool? Oh, what?
See, no, yeah, there you go. See how they've aged in
Yes.
30 years. If you haven't seen them in 30 years,
But
no.
they all sound good, man.
Yeah, you know what, guys? This is a very this is something that we as musicians can really back, because I'm
Yes.
always saying, you know, I look behind me and there aren't so many people following
Exactly.
instead of musicians.
Exactly. And
No.
this program really turns kids on and trains them for music ministry.
Yeah, that's Coesit Road, not Cowset, for those of you who don't live
Yeah, cohesive.
but if
and,
you're in the New England area, if you're
If you want to put, Joanne, if you want to put my email, because that's what's at the bottom.
okay,
For more information, email me.
can you send me that flyer so that I can actually put it up on the website?
Yes, I will.
Please do.
Okay.
I will put it up on the website
But
and
if you're in the New England area,
Facebook page.
Connecticut or Massachusetts, or even southern Vermont and New Hampshire,
Yes, please.
it's worth the drive.
It will be worth the drive,
Yeah.
because this will be a heck of a concert.
This is all music that we've used and loved.
Mhm.
At least most of us have.
Right.
Um,
There'll be stories. There'll be, I'm sure there'll be stories in between
yes. So
of all kinds of things. So
I'm looking forward to it with great anticipation.
it's a wonderful cause too.
Yeah, it is.
And if you're not from this area and you want to contribute, I believe he has a Facebook. I'm not a Facebook, but a website. I think Music Ministry Alive now has a
It does
website.
have a website. Yeah.
Hold on, I'm going for it. Mhm. And if not, I will definitely put it up on the. Yes, it is www.musicministryalive.com.
Yeah.
And I believe there's got to be a button there that
It
says,
says if you would like to contribute. Yeah.
Yeah. yes, here you go. Want to become
They've got a PayPal, I think.
MMA partner.
Yeah.
Yes, please. If you're not from this area, but you want to support this very, very worthwhile cause, I would go to musicministryalive.com and throw him some money.
And if you're from this area, come to the concert. I don't want them to think they're coming here for, a piddly group of people.
Yeah, they haven't been in New England together
No.
for.
Actually, David says they've never been in New England together, all three of them. They've all been here, but one or two at a time.
They've never been at a convention here, all three together.
We've only had one convention here.
We've had three. We had 3 Providence conventions.
For NPM?
Yeah. 80, 82, 84. They were regionals.
80? I don't know. I only remember one.
But
I must have been in a coma.
I'll bet
Okay.
I'll bet you they never all 3 were at the same one.
Well, that's what David said. He said all three of us have never been in New England together, even though we've been in New England separately.
Right.
And
Well, then here
It's been a long time for David and Marty.
Yeah.
Michael was just here a couple of years ago giving a lecture at PC.
Well, then here it is. You really want to come to this. So please tell your friends, ask us for posters. If you're in the surrounding area, please. This is going to be a great time. And you will actually see all 4 of us there.
Yeah, we're all there.
That we will definitely all be there that night. So if
We'll
you're
all probably be busy
busy,
handing out programs, adjusting microphones, or anything else.
we'll be there.
Yeah.
So, but please, we'll be talking more and more about it as it gets closer and closer, I'm sure.
Oh, yes.
Well, Linda, we ran over time,
Oh, surprise, surprise.
but we didn't go off the rails too much. So that wasn't bad at all.
We didn't go off the rails.
No, but I knew we'd go overtime today because we haven't been back in 2 weeks. So, but we're glad you're back.
But it's good to be back.
I'm so glad you're back. Next week, again, watch our Facebook page. We'll let you know if it's going to be a Monday recording, or I'll let you know what's going on. Okay, we just don't know yet what's happening. So, and that's usual for around here. Prayers again for Jennifer Willits, Greg Willits, the whole family as they mourn her father's death. maybe this is a good time for all of us to pray for someone in our own midst who's been home for a while and we miss them. So maybe this week that's a good time. Don't ever forget them, because they can still pray for us too. So that's that Communion of Saints thing. We'll be talking about that later on too. But thank you. Thank you, Linda, for being back. Thank you all for being with us. We really appreciate your hanging out with us, and we'll see you next week. So until then, in some way, shape, or form, ciao for now.